Coming up on Sophisticated Mom.
Feminine confidence when you just step into the room by the way that you carry yourself. You don't have to say anything if What is up, guys? Sophia here, and I'm back with another video, and I'm going to be talking to you about how you can apply feminine energy as a Christian woman. And for real, even if you're not Christian, watch this video because like it's gonna be pretty dope. So stick with me, okay? So before we get in the video, if you are new here or you just watch my videos and you're not a subscriber, then go ahead and subscribe, hit the notification bell, give me a follow, or whatever platform you're watching this on. Go ahead and do something so that you can stay updated on all my videos. Now, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? If you're not familiar with feminine energy, I need to go ahead and explain to you exactly what that is so that you are not confused on what the freak I'm talking about. So feminine energy is a woman's way of like behaving. And as you will see, if you utilize your feminine energy in the correct way, it can be very effective in attracting men, and it can be very effective in getting your way with men. Since this is about utilizing your feminine energy as a Christian woman, I'm actually going to take Esther and also compare it to the traits of feminine energy so that we can understand her whole feminine essence and how she's going to progress to not only be queen, get a king, but also kind of, I don't want to say manipulate, but also use her feminine charms in order to ultimately get her way with the king. And so the first thing that I want to point out is one big attribute about feminine energy is beauty. I am a big personal proponent of beauty. I'm not a fan of vanity. There is a difference. There is being obsessed with your appearance, and that's vanity, but actually putting your best foot forward in the way that you appear to the world in your own personal appearance and your beauty and whatever that means to you is something that I personally promote as a Christian woman. Esther was a young, beautiful woman in form and face, and she was an orphan. So that was Esther 2:17. So when people looked at Esther, when it says form, that is her body. In some versions, it says a shapely figure. Whatever it means to you, there was something feminine, Coke bottle shape. I don't know what went down back in the day or what was considered beautiful, but she had a feminine shape that people were naturally attracted to. So that's a feminine attribute, right? And so then she was beautiful in form and face. And I personally think that everybody is beautiful in their own way. So don't take it the wrong way that you got to go get plastic surgery and rearrange yourself or whatever the case may be. Just know that take care of your body, take care of your skin, and really try to bring out the feminine features in you. So fast forward to a few chapters later, after Esther went in the castle with all the other virgins, and all of them had to go through beauty treatments. You have your natural womanly charms, however you look, however you're shaped, you're taking care of your skin, you're taking care of your body. But then Esther got more on top of the natural feminine charms that she had. So in Esther 2:12, that all the virgins, not just her, went through 12 months of beautification treatments, and it was 6 months of oil and myrrh and 6 months with sweet spices and perfume, the proper beautifications for the queen. So that means she was getting her hair did, she was getting her skin right, she was smelling good. All of this has to do with your feminine energy, or even stepping out the house, putting a little perfume on, having shiny hair, trimming your dead ends, whatever you need to do. Like when you step out, you should look well taken care of. And so that will actually bring me to my next tip, in which feminine energy is said to naturally and effortlessly attract men. But the example that I'm going to show on how Esther did this is because first, when she stepped into the castle, all the virgins were entrusted upon the king's eunuch, and his name was Haggai. So 2 verse 9 says, "Now the woman Esther pleased Haggai and found favor with him. He quickly," this wasn't even it didn't take her a long time, quickly provided her with beauty preparations, so more beauty preparations on top of what she already had, and he gave her servants, and he gave her a choice of her servants, and he gave her a special place within the king's palace, which is her own room. So what does this have to do with feminine energy? So you already saw that I said that Esther was naturally beautiful. She had a nice face and she had a very feminine figure. So Haggai was a man. Even though she was not romantically attracted to Haggai, her feminine energy allowed her to win favor with him, and ultimately she got what she wanted. I was trying to say it in a nice way. He started giving her stuff. So if you want gifts, if you want bags, I'm not saying use people. She didn't even ask for it, but just her presence alone and how he was attracted to her, that's what caused her to get a whole bunch of stuff. Winning favor with Haggai actually helped her in the long run. And so just moving to 2:15, it says that Esther requested nothing except what Haggai, the king's eunuch and attendant who was in charge of the women, advised, and she found favor in all of those who saw her. Because when it came time to go before the king, all the virgins were supposed to bring a gift with them to the king, and it was Haggai who told Esther what to bring to the king, which ultimately helped her win favor for the king. And apparently everybody else noticed these attributes about her, and she also won the favor of everyone else. Now moving on to my third tip, it says, high quality men are typically drawn to women who exude femininity and confidence, because I don't want you to get the impression that a feminine trait is only beauty. There's a whole bunch of beautiful people, but that don't necessarily mean anything if you don't have the other attributes to back it up. Because we already talked about how Esther was pretty, that's fine, but it's only going to carry her so far. So moving on to when she finally met with the king, she took her gift. It says in 2:17, now the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she found favor and kindness with him than all the other virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head, and ultimately he made her queen. So not only was he attracted to probably her beauty, her femininity, but there was something about her that exuded confidence, because there was a whole bunch of virgins that he was calling in and sending out to try to see if they was going to be queen. I'm sure a whole bunch of them were pretty, and even all of them went through the same amount of beauty treatments, but there was something specifically that set Esther out, and that was her confidence. So when we talk about feminine confidence, it's not like in your face confident. Like, it's not like you're jumping in people's face, telling them who, what, where, when, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's doing all of that. That's not feminine confidence. That is aggression. Like, it's scaring people. And really, that's more of a masculine trait. You can exude feminine confidence when you just step into the room by the way that you carry yourself. You don't have to say anything if you're genuinely a confident woman and you know how to put it out in a feminine way. So we are going to move forward in the book of Esther, and I'm really going to point out how she's not just a pretty face. So at this point, her uncle came to her and was like, they're going to kill all the Jews and you need to do something. So Esther was like, okay, you know what? I have to go before the king. This is where her confidence comes in, but she's going to do it in a smart way. Once again, harnessing her feminine energy. She could not technically go before the king without being summoned, or she could possibly get her head chopped off, right? Like, that's a literal thing. So in chapter 4:16 of Esther, it says, "Then I will go to see the king without being summoned, which is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." But see, this is where the feminine comes in, because imagine if she would have came in and be like, "Yo, king, you need to listen to me. I'm your wife." That wouldn't have flew, and she wouldn't have gotten anywhere. But she was smart about it. So what she did in chapter 5, verse 1, is Esther put on her royal robes. That means she didn't go in there looking busted. She went in there looking like a queen, having the finest stuff on. She probably prepped herself, made herself look all fly. It doesn't say that part in the Bible. I was just adding that. And then she stood in the inner court of the king's palace, in his throne room. And then we're moving down to verse 2, when the king saw with his eyes, because men are visual. I'm just saying, sometimes they just like, you got to look good for them to pay attention to you. If she would have came and busted, it might have went a whole different way. So when the king saw Esther, mind you, she was wearing her royal robes and looking all fly, standing in the court, she found favor in the sight of the king, and he extended his golden scepter to her, which basically means, hey, I'm not going to chop your head off. Like when you extend the scepter, that was telling his people basically to back off. She can come before me. Don't like chop off her head. And then she approached. So if Esther was going before the king without permission, it's not like you could just come in there yelling or coming in there being aggressive to get somebody's attention. The way she got it was through the visual of how she looked by putting on the royal robes and just standing there like a boss, like, I'm queen. And then the king saw her and he was like, hey, and then she approached. When it comes to feminine confidence, it's stubble and it's discreet. And see, this is kind of where us women, if we harness our feminine energy right, we can definitely have the upper hand. So now the king has saw Esther. She has come in looking fly, smelling good. And then he says to her, this is in Esther 5:3. Then the king said to her, what is troubling you, Queen Esther? What is your request? It'll be given up to half the kingdom. So now he wants to give her stuff. But see, Esther wants something. She wants to try to talk the king into not killing her people and to save the annihilation of the Jews. So this is once again when it comes to the feminine energy appearing more passive. It doesn't say you have to be passive, but she needs to appear passive, because right then and there she could have been like, oh, king, save my people. But she didn't do that. She played it smart and she used her nurturing trait. And so when it comes to feminine energy, the fact that women are nurturers is a part of the feminine allure. So she told the king, I have made you a dinner and a meal, and I want you to come and I want to feed you. Mind you, the confidence is stubble and discreet, because we know she's going to ask for something, but she's also smart in being discreet in knowing when to do it and how to do it, and nurturing the king first, because masculine men, they kind of want to be nurtured a bit. Not saying you're a slave, because really, if you think about it right now, Esther has the upper hand. So then she says in 5:4, if it pleases the king, may the king and Haman, the one who was talking the king into killing the Jews, come to this day to a banquet that I have prepared for them. So even in advance, she prepared this wonderful banquet to feed the king. And really all she was doing was like buttering the king up, like legit. But the buttering up, it's like that was just the tip of the iceberg. He already said, what's your request? She then decided to feed him something. And then it says, as they drank their wine at the banquet, the king once again said to her, what is your petition? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Then Esther replied again, my petition is this: if I have found favor in the sight of the king, that I want you and Haman to come to another banquet. So I want to feed you again, is that's what Esther's saying. See how her confidence, the feminine energy confidence, is less direct than being confrontational, because really she's kind of buttering him up, getting him exactly where she wants him before she asks for what she really wants. So it's like, yes, she could have asked the first time when he extended his royal scepter, but she didn't. She could have asked this time because he said, hey, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. But she was like, no, I'll wait and I'll nurture you some more because I'm a feminine woman. And then she fed him. And then he's like, what do you want? I'll give it to you, whatever you want. No, I love you. I'll nurture you some more. Here's some more food. And so then the next day, she calls him into a big feast in which she has prepared for him. But this time, he says the same type of thing. So if you go to chapter 7, verse 2, they're now at the second banquet, and the king said to Esther on the second day, what is your petition? Queen Esther, it shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Even half of the kingdom. So now she's going to tap into the fifth feminine trait that I'm going to give you, the emotional. So now she's already buttered him up. She reminded the king of how nurturing she was, how beautiful she was. And then she replied to him, if I have found favor in your sight, if it pleases the king, because the feminine energy is all about giving and pleasing and all that type of stuff. So she started with this. Then she said, let my life be spared as a petition and my people be spared. So then she kind of puts this emotional twist on it. For we have been sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, killed, and wiped out of existence. Now, if only we had been sold as slaves, men and women, I would have remained silent, for our hardship would have not been as sufficient to burden, another feminine trait, to burden the king by even mentioning it. So really, she's kind of downplaying her role, because we know through all of this, Esther already had this plan, right? But look at how she appeared to him. Non-confrontational, non-aggressive, and she gave the impression that it's up to you, king, to just do this, and I would have never wanted to bother you, and I would have left you alone if only. You see? Right. And so then she tapped into the final tip that I'm going to give you, but this is more of the masculine, because women are emotional, but a lot of the times when we get emotional in front of men that we care about and men that love us, it invokes something in them, because a man who is masculine has an instinct to protect you. So the words that she used, for I and my people are to be destroyed. And so really in his brain, he don't care about them people. He don't know them Jews. But what he heard was, somebody is going to kill my wife. And so the masculine in him then jumped into action, because he needed to protect his wife, because that's what masculine men do. So that emotional distraughtness that she had displayed in her telling him somebody is going to hurt me, it's like that man on a white horse showing chivalry to save what belongs to me and what I love. So then the king said in 7 verse 5, who is he? Where is he? And who dares do such a thing? Then Esther, mind you, Haman was at this feast the whole time. We forgot about Haman. Then Esther said, an adversary and the enemy is Haman. So she just pointed at him like, oh, he's right there. You see how she planned this? Like legit, this was mad slick. Like it's crazy. We're going down to chapter 7, verse 7. Then in fury, the king stood up from drinking wine. So he stopped drinking at this point because he was so pissed, and went into the palace. And basically, he was like, no, you gotta go. And Haman at this point was on his knees pleading to Queen Esther. And the reason why is because he knew that at this point, Queen Esther had the king so far in her pocket that whatever she said, the king would do, because that's how she played this situation. So ultimately, Haman died. Who cares? It's really not about him. So basically, I hope through this whole story, you get the concept of feminine energy, because a lot of people think that feminine energy means that you have to be some type of submissive slave doormat where you don't have an opinion or anything like that. That's not it. And that's why I wanted to show you Esther on how she controlled all of this. But she just did it in a way that utilized her natural femininity, and I want you to see how all of this probably would have went different if she would have came in demanding stuff, being loud, getting all rah-rah. Because if you remember, the only reason why Esther became queen was because the king sent Vashti away for disobeying him, and Vashti was the first queen. But just because you utilize your feminine energy, that doesn't make you subpar. It makes you smart, and it really can have a guy eating out the palm of your hand if you want him to be eating out the palm of your hand. And if you have some types of questions, comments, or concerns, then I would love to hear them. Give me a like, give me a follow, put your comments down in the description box. Let me know what you think, and I will see and talk to you guys another day, another time. Bye, y'all.